A cigarette holder for nudists, England, 1938. HMS Hermione Shipcat Convoy had his own hammock. He died with 87 crew members when the ship was torpedoed on June 16, 1942. A British doctor treats female concentration camp survivors for lice, helping them begin the long road to recovery. Chinese people celebrate the successful test of the first atomic bomb, 1964. British fascist Oswald Mosley on an attempted march through Manchester, 1962. In 1979, Brazil's military president João Figueiredo reached out to a 5-year-old girl for a propaganda photo op, but she refused. The shot became an iconic symbol of resistance against the dictatorship. Mary Connors, the human nucleus, flies over the Avon River in Bristol, England, 1974. Brigitte Bardot became one of the brightest female icons of the 20th century, and at the World's Fair in the Vatican Pavilion, her photo was displayed as a symbol of sin. Beauty pageant in Cliftonville, 1936. To ensure jury objectivity, the contestants' faces were covered. An inscription on the wall: "Mom, Dad, and I come here every day and wait for you." Signed below, "Your son, Slava. During World War II, USSR, 1943. Prosthetic big toe found in the tomb of Tabekatemut, Thebes necropolis. 1865 portrait of Brigham Young, second president of the Church of Latter-day Saints, founder of Salt Lake City and the first governor of Utah. Young had 57 children with 56 different wives. The Holocaust Memorial in Budapest. At this location, Jews were ordered to remove their shoes before they were shot into the Danube River. U.S. Lieutenant Jeremy Shales plays baseball inside one of Saddam Hussein's palaces. Iraq, 2003. People trying to board a plane during the evacuation of American troops. South Vietnam, 1975. Rome, 1964. This is a local lost and found office. On the shelves, lost umbrellas. It's very interesting how the owner can recognize their umbrella in such abundance. The Republic of South Africa is the world leader in the number of rapes. Every 4th man in this country is a rapist. A woman born in South Africa is more likely to be raped than to learn to read. First German soldiers advanced toward the USSR border, June 22, 1941. In the spring of 1933, thousands of Gulag prisoners were put on Nadzinsky Island without food to build a settlement. By summer, only 2,200 of the 6,700 had survived. There was famine and cannibalism, USSR. Harsh canned vodka for soldiers, 1950. Albert Einstein in his free time, 1939. Cossacks trained to overcome obstacles on horseback, 1910. Boston blizzard of 1978, USA. 73 people died, over 4,000 were injured during the relentless 3-day storm. The first feminists, 1911. In this touching photo from 1945, a little girl from France kisses an American soldier on the cheek on Valentine's Day. In my opinion, the photograph with the American soldier is quite ambiguous. If we recall that more than half of the civilian casualties in France during World War II were the result of American and British bombings. The moment of the collapse of the World Trade Center in New York, USA, September 11th, 2001. Palestinians with an olive branch try to start a conversation with Israeli border guards. West Bank, 1991. Wounded British soldiers with trophy German helmets. France, 1916. A dead miner's canary, 1875. Canaries were brought into mines because they were the first to react to methane leaks, warning miners of danger. Miss Italy knocks out Miss Sweden in an international women's boxing match in Stockholm, 1949. This is a bulletproof vest from 1881, used in combat and blocked 18 bullets. 1930s, Germany. A firefighter tests the latest invention, a suit that protects him from fire using jets of water coming from the top of the helmet. Julius Dack at the Chicago police station, 1906. The criminal, disguised as a woman, was hiding from the police, but it seems he still made a mistake somewhere. Nuns at a casino at slot machines, Australia, 1971. In 1986, pilot Alexander Kluyev bet he could land a passenger plane blind, using only instruments. He lost the bet. The plane crashed and burst into flames, killing 70 people. The pilot survived and was sentenced to just 6 years in prison. Photo related to HIV awareness by the CDC Historical Archives that was removed by Trump. Thanks. A husband and wife and their 11 children dressed for Palm Sunday, 1954. The new all-drive three-wheeled bicycle, tricycle, 1882. Children, prisoners of Auschwitz. Concentration camp, show their camp numbers, tattooed on their arms, Poland, 1945. Watching television in a movie theater in the city of Carpi, Italy, 1956. A coffin in a tree in the taiga, USSR, 1927. Air burial is one of the oldest religious funeral rites. French women who had connections with Germans were publicly humiliated as traitors. The irony is that France itself capitulated in 43 days, but it was the women who were portrayed as traitors. A soldier from the 173rd Airborne Brigade, South Vietnam. Lava flows engulfing a village west of Vesuvius, 1944. A soldier uses a slave as a seat, USA, 1962. According to the 1897 census, only about 25% of the population of Russia had surnames. Also, many people did not know their age. Escape by swimming, 1966. A mother and children from South Vietnam attempt to swim across a river to escape an attack during Operation Piranha. When the photo won a Pulitzer Prize, photographer Kyuichi Sawada went searching for the family in the photo and ultimately gave them half of the winnings. Back in the 15th century, moose were used as mounts in the Swedish army. Meanwhile, in Russia, a decree banned riding moose in cities because they kept knocking people over. A rare photo of people enjoying casual conversation on September 11th, 2001. Hoofprint boots used during the Prohibition era in the United States. Alcohol vendors wore this type of footwear so they couldn't be tracked by regular shoe prints. A man stole a military tank from the U.S. Army and drove it on the highway in San Diego, USA, 1995. a communication device between a driver and passenger, 1970s. One of the most influential drug barons in history, Pablo Escobar, at Disneyland, 1981. David Hensley collecting donations in 1948 for a new hospital dedicated to treating victims of polio. How Formula One used to be photographed, around 1960. A 1951 photograph from the Korean War shows Chinese soldiers kneeling before Korean troops and pleading for mercy. Crowd fights over toilet paper in a Tokyo supermarket, Japan, 1973. When boredom strikes at the front, soldiers have to improvise. Here, French troops dressed as women entertain their fellow comrades along the Maginot Line, 1940. A 25-year-old woman at the grave of her brother, who served in the U.S. Army in Iraq and Afghanistan, 2013. Robert Earl Hughes was one of the heaviest people in medical history. In 1958, at the age of 32, Robert Earl Hughes passed away. At the time of his death, he weighed around 450 kilograms, 1,000 pounds. One of the rare photos taken on a slave transport ship, 1882. In Guam, virgins are forbidden from marrying. Therefore, there is a special profession, a deflorator. This specialist travels the country and, for a fee, performs the service of taking girls' virginity. Prisoner number 4100, named George Davey. The young boy was sentenced to 1 month of hard labor at Wandsworth Prison in 1872. 10-year-old George stole 2 rabbits. In the photo, a crowd of white, civilized Americans mocks 2 participants in the Civil Rights Movement, 1965. The Spanish flu killed more people than World War I. The execution of opium traders in China, just a few years before the outbreak of the Opium Wars, 1935. Even the poor were too lazy to bend down to pick up thousands and millions of banknotes lying on the street. There was nothing to buy with them anyway. A friendly conversation between Soviet and German soldiers in September 1939 after the partition of Poland. Such photographs were never officially published in the USSR. In World War II, Ireland remained neutral. Yet Prime Minister Eamon de Valera and President Douglas Hyde personally expressed condolences to the German ambassador on the death of Hitler. A bear drawn by the smell of baking rolls in the oven. Russia, Cape Schmidt, 1997. A former concentration camp prisoner selects glasses from a pile taken from inmates. 1945, Poland, Nazi concentration camp Auschwitz. In the early 20th century, the U.S. Navy decided to fight inappropriate tattoos among sailors and prohibited people with such tattoos from joining. This led many young men who didn't want to serve in the Navy to get tattoos of naked women. Interestingly, if they later changed their minds, they went back to the tattoo shop to add clothes to their girls. Japanese people. Listen to the Emperor's surrender announcement, Japan, 1945. On June 3, 1980, due to a computer malfunction that reported a Soviet nuclear attack, the USA declared a nuclear alert. For 10 minutes, the world was on the brink of nuclear war. German field dentist, World War I. Production of night pots made from German helmets, Denmark, 1945. A crawling toy, USA, 1871. If you misbehave, it will crawl to you at night. Hitler's nephew who fought for the USA during World War II. Berlin, May 1945. A frenzied elderly woman wanders the street amidst deadly combat. Photo from the German archive. In 1979, FBI agent Hansen was tasked with finding a Soviet spy. The twist was that the spy was Hansen himself. A couple shows their newborn children to their grandparents across the Berlin Wall, 1961. One of the oldest pieces of evidence of tattoos in history, a Scythian deer tattoo on the mummy of the Altai princess, aged 2,500 years. The leader and the number of assassination attempts. According to Fidel Castro's head of security, there were 638 assassination attempts on the Cuban leader, mainly by the CIA. Mass burning of the Parangi, Vale, Andijan, Uzbekistan, 1927. Horse-shaped device used to hold children still during X-rays, mid-20th century. The Endurance ship permanently trapped in Antarctic ice, 1915. In 1940, portraits of Adolf Hitler were distributed in a Polish resettlement camp to be hung in apartments. An officer with his belongings, 1862. Freed slaves were considered contraband or captured property at that time. Christmas packages destined for soldiers who have been killed or are missing in action await return to sender stamps in New York, 1944. Special effects in the film industry in the 1960s. 8-year-old Christian accepts the flag during the memorial service for his father, who was killed on patrol in Iraq just a few weeks before he was due to return home. In 1996 at New Delhi Airport, a Saudi Arabian Airlines Boeing 747 and a Kazakh Il-76 collided. Both flights were on the same route but in opposite directions, and the pilots failed to communicate their intentions in time because they could not speak English. The crash killed 349 passengers and crew. During the 1927 Tour de France, cyclists were known to smoke cigarettes, believing the habit to be a form of performance enhancer for their lungs. I'm proud of my gay son. New York, 1974. On April 1, 1915, in the midst of World War I, a French plane appeared over a German camp and dropped what looked like a huge bomb. The soldiers scattered, waiting for an explosion, but none came. Instead, a large ball landed, bearing the words, "April Fools." California physics teacher demonstrating the mechanism of the surfing wave tube, 1970. Women gathering firewood, Russian Empire, 1913. Pro-Khomeini militia fighters patrol the streets looking for the Arab population, Khorramshahr, Iran, 1979. In 2002 in Mecca, 15 girls died in a school fire. The religious police prevented firefighters from saving students because they were without traditional dress, niqab and abaya, which led to the high number of casualties. A chilling moment frozen in time, just 2 seconds after the atomic bomb detonated over Nagasaki, Japan, 1945. Whether this clip sparked joy, anger, or just a bit of annoyance, I want to hear your thoughts below. Stick around for part 2 coming soon. Please hit like and subscribe to support the channel. See you!